other word. Oh,
here we go.
ta-da!
We're together in the same place.
In the same place. We're live together, playing well with others.
Again, yeah.
Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody. It's Doing Good in Kitsap and Beyond with, that's Jamie right there.
And Chris.
Hey.
Our names are backwards again on the bottom there.
Well,
but
we can, yeah. There's,
it's all right.
you know what? If you guys knew how much production is involved in this, you'd be happy that we
there we go. Look at that. Magic. I fixed it.
Oh, look at that. Buttons are pushed.
So, I know,
Right
right?
on.
Hey, I think we're live on Facebook on Doing Good in Kitsap, on Jamie Jensen Realtor Group, and we're live on YouTube too.
And on YouTube as well. So all these different ways for you guys to hang your hats and sit back with us for a little while and hear about some things that are doing good here in our backyard of Kitsap and beyond.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
there's lots of great things happening and coming up. So I'm going to share this out to Facebook world here.
Throw it out on
while we're
Facebook
doing
and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
I have been, I had a great weekend playing well with the Starship. And,
right.
Some people know the Jefferson Starship, Jefferson Airplane, all that kind of stuff. And a group of people that I've played well with through the years. And it was really, really a lot of fun. They are so tight and professional. It's just a great show. And again, another sold out show out at the casino. And I got to in the afternoon because, again, did you know that there's weather delays in America right now? And
it's so crazy.
And they went from Detroit to Seattle through about 7 different layovers and stops, show speed direct flights, all this kind of stuff. So, but the show came off, and I don't think any of the audience knew that they hadn't slept in 24 hours of travel and losing luggage, and it's kind of comical, but it's the reality of what the world is right now.
Well, it's not funny when you're actually doing it and waiting for them to go. And,
you know, they're all. I mean, you think about. I mean, they're all Diamond Club members of the airline, and stuff, and yet here they are sleeping for 3 to 5 hours in an airport to hear if they're going to get on a plane. Oh. And then I'm juggling, Chris. It looks like you're going to do a 2-hour show because we don't.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. You got to be prepared for anything, right?
So that was my Saturday, which was joyous and mirthful and all those kind of things.
So to be clear, Starship is not the same as Jefferson Starship or Jefferson Airplane.
Well, Mickey Thomas was in Jefferson Starship and Jefferson Airplane.
But they're out touring on their own, too.
Well, there's a couple of people that are still alive that don't get along. Can you imagine that?
I know, go figure.
Can you imagine?
A rock and roller.
Imagine people that you played with in the 60s and 70s and 80s that you might not care for each other's habits anymore.
Go figure.
Yeah, and so there's 2 different ones, and anyways, just like there's 2 yeses now. There's a lot of there's 2 Queensryches. There's 2.
There are.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's silly.
Yeah. So what are you gonna do?
Well, they all have rights to the name, I suppose.
Well, that's how they originally wrote them up, and there's people that don't like that now. So
whatever.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's another Jamie Jensen somewhere, or Chris Larson.
I know there's another one of me. Yeah. Imagine that too.
I know. Yeah, go Google. Maybe don't go Google. Don't do it. Don't Google. Yeah, we've just been super crazy busy. And
in the realtor group
in
side
the real estate world,
isn't that something that it's perking right now?
It is,
my bride is still at work. She was going to be here, but she's busy, which is take the busy right now.
That's right. We cannot complain about that. So it just kind of like went crazy again, and so we're happy about that and excited for our sellers and buyers, and so that part's all good. And
that's awesome. That's awesome.
We had our big award ceremony today at the John Scott Paulsbo office.
And how did that go?
So, well, we knew that the Jensen Realtor Group had won or had been named in the top 1% of all of John L. Scott.
Yay.
for the year. So that was pretty cool. So we got that. We got the statue last couple weeks ago and got the plaque today.
That's awesome.
And then we were also top real estate team for the John L. Scott Kingston office. So
Yay team.
Yeah, our team is awesome.
It is awesome.
They're just good people.
Yeah. I like the troublemakers on your team.
Yeah.
Good characters and
we try to just go do a little good in the community and sell houses
and sell a few houses.
Yeah,
so
that's
we
the
got
goal.
that going for us.
So cool. Well, we've got a cool special guest today.
I'm so excited about tonight's show.
Let's bring him in.
Let's bring him in. He's one of those people in the industry,
in
the comedy side of it that I've just enjoyed his talents for years and years. We've been longtime friends, meeting up in the comedy scene back in the 90s. I can't even believe that part of it.
Yeah.
And
fast, man.
Time flies,
on top of the comedy scene, which I'm bringing them into town tomorrow night over at McCormick Woods, which they have just a few tickets available for that. It's sold pretty well because he's been on the TV shows Grimm. He's been on the TV show Leverage, or right now on the TV show Leverage. He does a lot of voiceover work. He's just there's the resume, Google search kind of thing.
Yeah.
But ladies and gentlemen,
Google Vince, don't Google us.
Yeah. Take a look at Vince's CV and welcome to the show. Vince, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I appreciate you guys inviting me on.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing with you tomorrow night. And it sounds like your voice is better than when I saw you last week.
Yeah, the cold. Actually, the Sunday after I saw you last, I was in bed all day, and so I got the show out of the way just in time before they kicked in, and then I gave my cold to Susan, so she's got the worst of it, and I'm on the upswing.
Got Susan as well. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Susan's.
so kind of you to share.
Yes, I thought it was too. She didn't think so much, but
yeah.
I and she's not real fond of snoring, so that's nor me telling that she snores, so that doesn't.
Yeah.
My dad had that. Us kids were really like, it just blew us away one time when we heard Dad snoring. Then we realized Dad wasn't home. Holy smokes, is that Mom? We didn't know she could do that.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Way to go, Mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, you caught Dad snore.
Yeah, she's a little stuffed up, so it's not her normal self. So that's but we've just been packing in the cold meds and vitamin C, and so but I'll be good for tomorrow. I'll be ready to go.
That's awesome.
Well, because I'm sure she doesn't want you mentioning in your bit that your wife is snoring. We're a little sensitive about this. Just FYI.
I usually clear stuff first.
You do. Good for you.
She's a good sport, though.
Yeah, that's some wisdom there.
The most recent one was she has a horrible sense of direction. I mean, it's somebody that's so smart. I don't understand how they can not know which way they are going anywhere. And so, it drives me nuts sometimes. And then I start thinking about it. Well, if you're going to have a lifetime partner, what better person than a person who has no sense of direction, because they're never going to leave you.
Yeah.
Where are they going to go? I mean, come on.
In a circle or one way or the other.
Yeah,
they'll
be
come back
knocking on the door in about 5 seconds. I'm lost.
Yeah. I had my Susan one time. I go, hey, instead of me picking you up, can you just meet me at? And she's like, I don't know how to get there. I go, we've been there a dozen times. I go, how do you not know how to get there? She goes,
no.
You don't take the same roads twice. And I'm like, oh, man. Yeah, I guess because when you know all the roads, you just
you just go,
Yeah.
And what did we do before we had GPS on our phones or on those little machines in the car?
I was one of those weird people who looked at a map. I don't know about other people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you go to AAA when you wanted to go on a trip?
Trip chicks.
I had one of those. I still have those national maps. Being on the road and traveling and stuff, you had to have a nationwide map for all the driving. All you had to do back in the day.
You got that.
So I always had those big maps, big atlas.
Always. Yeah, always. And I got to tell you, the whole idea that we found anything And some of these, right? Some of these clubs, some of the triple runs, were 7, 8, 11 hours between gigs.
Yeah.
It's amazing that was all done with landlines, no cell phones, and no GPS. It's amazing that there's not. Well, there's probably a few comics that are still lost in the Dakotas or something that just never came back.
They're still using their calling card at a payphone.
The calling card. Oh my God. Punching in all those digits and stuff, man.
35 digits. And then if you screw it up, you got to start over.
Start over again. Yeah.
Or calling their parents collect.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We just aged all of ourselves.
We just did.
Yeah, there's a whole generation that has no concept of what we're talking about.
Don't mention a rotary dial or a party line.
Oh, right.
I could name off at least 30 phone numbers right now that I still know.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, we've only got about half an hour.
But I'm just saying, and a kid today, it's like it's number 7 on the speed dial.
Yeah. No, nobody knows phone numbers anymore.
Nobody does. Nobody does.
Do you still know phone numbers?
A few. Yeah. Not that many. I struggle with I know my cell number, but I struggle sometimes. Like, what's my home number?
Yeah. No, PR6.
I never call it. So.
Yeah. That you still have a home phone number is impressive.
Yeah, it's not my first.
I still have a landline.
You have a landline at home?
I still have a landline, and I have the phone number from 1976 on that landline.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, how's that?
That's impressive.
Our whole audience, I just aged out. Our entire people watching this right now is like, oh my gosh.
1976. When was that?
1976.
Yeah.
1976. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Crazy.
Well, Vince, where are you from?
I grew up in Seattle, and I've lived here most of my life. I spent time in Los Angeles and moved back, and then now I call her my common law wife, but she lives in Santa Monica. I live in Seattle, so we go back and forth. So that's kind of just the way it's worked out.
Yeah.
And so we years ago, it's interesting, before I ever met her, back in the late 90s, I used to go to Santa Monica all the time, and I knew her neighborhood well, and actually a buddy of mine lived right across. There was a park in between these two streets, Lincoln and 7th Street. And when I first started going to Los Angeles in the early 90s, she told me where she lived. I said, I know exactly where that's at. My buddy used to live right across the street. So anyway, I was very familiar with her neighborhood. And
and she wasn't, because she was lost, because she can't do directions.
Everything's new to her. She doesn't, nothing gets old.
Oh, cool. God.
Yeah. So that's, but I spent most of my life in Seattle, and then, a lot of traveling and all that stuff. But ironically, when I lived in West LA, which was right on the Santa Monica line, and I spent a lot of time. I used to go down and run down at the beach and stuff like that. I used to think, ideally, I'd really love to have a place in Seattle and Santa Monica. And years later, it's sort of worked out that way. Just kind of weird, but I don't have the career that I wanted. But it's kind of nice having two places, to hang in, and we enjoy both places. So
that's awesome.
Well, there's still time. Your career's not over yet.
Hope something kicks in soon. I'm getting old.
Yeah. So let's talk about Vince's career a little bit. You've had an amazing stand-up comedy career that I've enjoyed hanging out with you and stuff. And then, you've been blessed to get some killer parts in a couple of amazing shows, and just some of the stuff you did with Grimm. I got to tell you, how many hours in the makeup room did you have to?
Chris, I don't want to burst your bubble, Chris, but somehow I think you got the idea that I was a reoccurring Vesson, and I never got the chance to be that. I was a grief counselor.
I'll be done.
So I didn't get the special effects, which would have been really cool.
I'll be darned. I thought a couple of those were you.
Yeah. I will tell you the very funny story though.
Yeah.
I had kind of one of those shows. The same kind of thing happened with Leverage. Is you go in an audition and they if they sense something about you, and you may not get the part, you're kind of in their rotation of, we want to get something booked with this guy or her gal. And that's kind of the sense that I got. And I didn't get the part. And then it was based on a look, I guess. And so the next part that came up was much better role for me. And but interesting enough, I went into the wardrobe and stuff the day before my shoot. They said, yeah, the director, he thinks of you as a Charles Durning type. And I'm like, Charles Durning? I go, he's big. I go, I never really thought of myself as a Charles Durning. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, and it really messed with my mind. So I'm like, I know I've put on a few pounds, but Charles Durning, that's a little much, yeah. So the next day, they shot this particular scene in this church, and it was all the stained glass. It was really beautifully shot. And in between setups, I was just hanging out, having some coffee. And he was the producer, but once a year he would direct the episode. And that episode that I was on, he directed. And so he came over, just was talking to me and asking me about stand-up of all things and stuff. Yeah. And we were just chit-chatting. And then I got to ask you, man. I go, I was in wardrobe yesterday, and they said that I reminded you of Charles Durning. And he goes, what? He goes, no, Charles Dutton. I go, oh, a bald black guy. Okay. Now that makes more sense.
Yeah.
But he goes, no, just kind of a strong, sensitive type. That's what we were, I'm like, okay. But I go, yeah, I got to tell you, this thing, that's just been eating at my brain for like the last day. And that's all I've been thinking about. And anyway, we had a good laugh about it. But
that's even better.
That was really a very well-run show. And the crew was really, sometimes it can be a little intense when you go in on guest stars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or co-stars, it can be a pretty intense environment. And that environment was really welcoming and just kind of relaxed, where you didn't feel pressured. Sometimes it can be pretty intense because there's always a lot going on, and they got a lot to get done in every single day. They may be running behind, and then they get to your stuff, and you may miss something or whatever, and and there you can feel the tension in the air, So but that was a really a well-run set, and enjoyed that.
That's great.
Was Hollywood something you wanted to do that was in your career pathway and in your dreams?
Well, when I was, I was a very shy kid, and I played sports a lot. Came from a very athletic family, and so I was more involved in sports and stuff. And then when I got into college, I played baseball for a couple of years, and then I had arm problems, and I was like, well, I don't know what I really want to. I had thought about stand-up, so I did a talent show, and that's where I kind of caught the bug. And then a couple of years later, I moved back to Seattle, and knew nothing about stand-up, and just started kind of going to check out shows and stuff, and asked around. And ironically, one of the guys that was booking rooms at that time was a former student of my dad's. My dad was a longtime educator, and a guy by the name of Jeff Didebrandt. And Jeff had a room in North Seattle, and he gave me a lot of stage time, and I kind of became, not, I want to say a house MC, but I got a lot of stage time. So I had no idea what I was doing, but he gave me some stage time. My first paid gig was $25 and dinner. And I was so excited. And
dinner.
And dinner.
Yeah. And dinner. Yeah. And drinks after the show. So I was pretty happy about that. And one of the very first show I did there was supposed to be Peggy Platt, was supposed to be the headliner, and Hugh Fink. And Hugh Fink was a violin playing comic who later became the head writer at Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
And then so Peggy couldn't play and make it, and Mary Schickling Young was the headliner on that show. But here's an interesting thing: the very first stand-up show I ever went to, professional show in Seattle, was Franklin Ajay. And Franklin Ajay was I'd seen him on the Tonight Show, and I always really liked his style. Yeah. And went to the Comedy Underground in downtown Seattle and saw him there. And then years later, this is probably about 10 years ago, I was in LA and went in for a voiceover audition, and he was waiting around as well to read for something. And so I introduced myself and told him that he was the first professional comic in the show, and he was recording an album that night.
Oh, wow.
And so we had a nice chat, and it was interesting to meet him and talk to him as somebody. I mean, you never think that you're gonna,
no,
you know, you're just going to a show. You never think you're gonna be a comic. You were interested in it, but there's been a few things like that have happened where I've met people that I had seen on television. I was able to work with later on and stuff like that. So that's always kind of fun, where you just wouldn't think it would ever happen, and then, you know, and just sort of things progress and some little opportunity comes up. So yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, you never know in life where opportunities are going to come from, right? And it's just, you got to put yourself in that place in order for great things to happen.
Yeah, I had interest in acting, and I got the comedy bug. And in the early 90s, I started taking some classes and went to, there was actually a method acting workshop here in Seattle that I went and worked with this teacher called Douglas Dirksen, and he was studied with at the Actors Studio, and so he was interesting. And then you know, it was difficult because I was going on the road all the time too, so you know, it was hard to get in on auditions and get any kind of traction or really even learn. You know, part of acting is just learning how to get out of your own way, and that was always difficult. I could be very relaxed in front of an audience, but one-on-one was very difficult. So I had to do a lot of work to get past that, and just be able to not freeze up, you know, because that was it's kind of like I revert to my old shy, quiet ways and tense up, and that happened a lot in auditioning too, which is a nightmare when that happens. But what's interesting now with a lot of casting that's going on is self-taping. And part of that was happening before COVID, but when COVID came, so, you know, now it's self-taping. And, you know, again, it's like you have to catch up to technology, figure out how to self-tape yourself, and figure out, you know, I got to get the little ring and hold my phone, and, you know, all that, you know the drill, right?
Yeah.
So
we're juggling right now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So the good part about it is, one of the things that I had real issues with was auditioning and being relaxed in the room, and I blew a lot of opportunities. Wow. Just, I go in there, I know my stuff, and I get in there, and I just it would just not happen. It would be very bad, and then I'd, you know, kick myself for days on end afterwards. And ironically, when I did Leverage, one of the parts that came up, and I said, you know what, I'm not gonna screw this one up. I know I can nail this part. I'm not gonna screw it up. And so the writer, actually that part was based on her uncle, and so she told me later on that when she saw my audition, they said, we have our Joey now. So that was nice that, you know, she, you know, came up and approached me and told me that story. And, you know, it's interesting that, you know, I had no idea who this character was based on or whatever. And so when some of the writer comes up and tells you that you brought to life whatever they were writing, you know, that's nice. And
that is really cool.
Yeah, so that was good to, you know, just finally get that and nail that opportunity where, you know, I'd blown so many other ones before. So I think that kind of helped me just get over the hump a bit. And but it's for me, my biggest struggle was just being able to be comfortable in it was never about like when I was on set. It was mainly about the auditioning process. And so now with self-taping, one of the good things about it is you can screw up as much as you want and put as many takes together and work on it. I mean, you may have time constraints and things like that, but you're not going into a room where you don't know what's going on in the room. You're in your own environment, you're relaxed, and you can do your stuff. And if you don't like it, or typically if you went in for an audition, you'd maybe get 2 takes, 3 if they're generous. At some point in times, I've had times where they've, worked with me a bit to try and get something that they were looking for and get a few more takes, or they put it, let's work on this before we do anything, before we put anything down. So there was some stuff like that I think with technologies today, it's a good fit to where you can do as many takes as you want. And I just auditioned for something that was kind of a tech commercial. That's they were looking for a cool chief information security officer. So I got to work on that over a few days and get that down. And I don't know, I probably recorded maybe 10 takes or so, and finally got to a point where something that I liked. And then, you put 2 or 3 in a file and send it on out. And, but if I was going into an office, I'd probably get 2 takes. And sometimes it just takes a little bit to get warmed up and get in a groove.
Right.
So those kind of things are, technology is a little more friendly in that regard, where you can feel like you're putting more of your best foot forward, and not, sometimes it's just a pressure cooker you walk into, and you just sometimes walk out going, that just was not good. Yeah. Nothing good happened there.
But standing up in front of an audience, so if you're doing that and you've got, a few people that you're doing, but when you're doing comedy,
right,
you're standing up in front of a bunch of people who are often intoxicated and sometimes obnoxious. I've seen that before.
That's happened.
I've heard that can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you don't have a problem with that. So standing up in front of people is like.
But before you answer that, Vince, in the industry of stand-up, I think you are in the top 1% of microphone technique, and it's something that's a lost art. And the way you handle the device of the microphone, which probably took you into doing some of your voice work and stuff. He's just a master and stuff. The way he can retell a story and the voices you do, and the bonus points of some of the sounds of a rifle or whatever, to really set the stage for the bit that you're doing, is something that I truly believe that over 95% of the comics in the last 10 years have no idea how you're doing any of that. Nice. And he's a master at it. So.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. I think probably a lot of it had to do with just, I had a knack for mimicry, as a kid. In fact, when I started stand up, I did a lot of impressions and like a lot of people. And I slip them in from time to time. I don't announce it, but kind of when I started in stand-up, it was I discovered that impressionists weren't really viewed in high regard, and a lot of it was based a lot of it because their material was not necessarily that good. They may do good voices and that kind of thing, but also too, I grew up listening to a lot of comedy albums. We listened. I grew up. I was the youngest of 5, and I listened to a lot of stuff that I probably shouldn't listen to at an early age. And, but we also, Jonathan Winters was one that we had. Bill Cosby. I liked Bill Cosby's, his storytelling.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a couple bits in my act that are, you know, I would say a tribute to a couple of his stories,
Cool.
And the and I think the other stuff just kind of came out of just what I would call just how I choose to tell a story,
Yes.
a lot of people comment on this bit that I do about my mom smoking when I was a kid, and that just is
I gotta hear
just a
this guy.
reenactment, but it's fun to do. I think, and some part of it is how you choose to tell the story, how you choose to put the because if you operate at one level all the time or
Yeah.
at a very high level all the time,
Yeah.
I try to just in how I write and how I think I should be telling the story is based on just how I want to color that and fill in the blanks, and I like to create imagery when I write, so
Yeah.
that
And you do. I mean, just the bit you're talking about your mom, man. If I can't, I feel like I'm in that room with that hail of smoke everywhere, and
yeah
just that one long drag. It's just
yeah
I'm I can feel it, man. I can smell the smoke when you're doing the bit.
yeah well, it's I my mom quit smoking a long time ago, but the bit lives on, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things that I do tell the story that she did quit, and then my dad comments on that, and then I make fun of my dad because he's a salt addict, and
Yeah.
those kind of things. But I think one of the things that I learned about is in trying to create an element of surprise in writing, and one of the things that Gene Parrott, who he was a comedy writer, a longtime comedy writer who passed away here just a few months ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so he, when I started in comedy, people said, well, you should get his book, and I kind of had a natural inclination of element of surprise, and just the way I naturally wrote, but in thinking of in kind of the setup, the premise, the setup, and the punchline, and just trying to keep this, dropping people off the edge, the element of surprise, and how you can do what I would call a redirection, or where you take the bit and then here comes the element of surprise. So there's little ways of writing that you can create the element of surprise. It's very subtle, but it fits. It's not something that would be considered out of context to it with those whatever you're writing about. But those are things that I kind of just naturally came across, that I never really sat there and thought about how do I want to write, how do I want to tell a story. I just tried to just have it come out naturally, and eventually just develop whatever my style was going to be. It was one of those things that you have to trust the process, and the process will take you where you're going to end up, and that's, you got to live and die by your own sword.
Yeah.
And sometimes that was pretty painful. There's things that I could have been doing that would have been easier for me, every night, but there was, things that I wanted to try and accomplish with what my vision was. And so there's a lot that goes into it, but also too, it's kind of your job to, make it look easy or make it look like it's a natural flow. And that just comes with a lot of stage time and a lot of, experience. And, there's, people start off as better writers or they're better performers, and it takes time for those things to intersect, later on and then once that hits, there's another kind of big movement, and there's all these different, plateaus that people will hit, or, it just kind of comes with, there's no shortcuts. It
No.
just takes time to get those things worked out. My biggest thing is now is I'm not really sure what to write about anymore. It's like I got to figure out how, what inspires me, what irritates me. used to be anything that irritated me, there would be at least 5 minutes, you know. Right. And then as I've gotten older, I don't get irritated as much, and so there goes my writing. So
the waves off the rock, man. The rock is getting rounded on the corners, man.
Yeah.
We do get to a point that's like whatever.
Yeah.
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 Like, why bother?
Which could be a whole act in itself, right?
I know, yeah. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I actually do a bit about it. Like when I turned 50, and I do this whole thing about how when I turned 24, I was like, oh no, I only have 1 year to get my act together. Then I turned 25, and I go, well, I got till I'm 30, you know. Then I turned 30, and I go, well, I got till I'm 40 to get my act together. And then I turned 40, I go, you know, nobody really gets their act together. They just get better at acting like their life is together.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I turned 50, and I go, I don't really care anymore. You know, it's just
too late now.
I want some baggy pajamas and a nap. And that's about it. You know. But yeah, it's things change, you know. I mean, and then I think, you know, trying to figure out where, you know, as you get older too, and this, I'm sure Chris can identify with this, is you feel you don't know where you fit in with, you know, after a while, you know. I mean, because you're not in the clubs all the time. You're not, you know, there's just a weird kind of detachment.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends are, you know, working on cruise ships and stuff. And that's something that I didn't really, never really interested me that much, you know, because I have a phobia of being trapped on a boat.
Well, let's check that box.
You know, and I'm like, So, you know, a lot of my friends have gone there and are working the big shows on the cruises and stuff, and or some of them are working, you know, opening for bigger acts and stuff like that. And those are things that I wouldn't mind doing. I just don't want to be on the road all the time.
Yeah,
you know, that's the part of it that you know, I like performing.
Tomorrow night, but it's not a long road.
That's not that far, Port Orchard.
Yeah, West Seattle to Port Orchard. I think we can handle that.
Heck
yeah, I'm gonna go take Edmonds and then go to Kingston and then drop down.
Yeah,
I'm in North Seattle now, so I'm not in Alki.
That's just don't go through Tacoma and sit there for hours. Yeah, you can
check the ferry schedule though. That's the warning.
Yeah,
you know what? When I came over, what is that? 2 weekends ago?
Swim.
Yeah. So I asked for a schedule, right? Oh no, we don't, and we don't print those anymore. I'm like, really?
Because they're wrong all the time.
Yeah,
you can't.
Yeah, but it was so. I mean, that was always such.
That was every time I took the boat. You know, my parents would tell me, "Bring home the new schedule."
Right,
you know?
and then it folded out like a newspaper.
And look at the time changes. Ooh, look at this.
Yeah,
we got another boat. You know, now it's look at this. We don't have any boats. You know.
They're ending that whole thing going up to Canada. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but the ferry schedule was always, as being a comic, is like, you know, you got to make sure you get you got to get back before the last boat, or you're gonna have to drive around, you know, and that happened more than once.
Yeah.
You're like,
this was bad.
Imagine living on this side and wanting to go to a show or something. Like, we always had to leave the baseball games early.
Yeah.
Just so we could race to get to the boat.
Concert early, the basketball game early, the Seahawks game. Yeah. We can't get home.
Yeah. And you miss it. They don't wait for you.
No, they don't.
Rude.
They're very rude. I don't understand those people at all.
Oh, rude.
Yeah, you'd think they're like customer service department. Yeah, there's never been a customer service at the ferry department.
What is it called? Washington State Ferry.
Yeah. Okay.
Welcome to the government entity.
Yeah.
If it were privately run, that'd be a whole different ballgame, wouldn't it?
A different ballgame.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised at the price when I hadn't been on the ferry in a long time. I'm like,
oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. No, when you're waiting in that extra line over here for credit approval, so you can, you know, get a hot dog too. It's like that's another $18. You know. It's like,
the hot dogs are shut down by the time he's on that lake.
That's true
too.
A hot dog and a beer and the ticket. You're you might not have enough money for gas.
No, I could have gone to Paris or Bremerton.
Yeah, take your pick.
Yeah, exactly. Same ticket.
Yeah. Well, cool. We got plans tomorrow, so we're gonna miss you. Or Thursday out at.
But I will see you. Yeah, tomorrow night, 7:30 is the show time.
7:30. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Steve Gardner will be part of the show. I think he's watching us right now.
Good dude.
And great dude. And Vince, thanks for coming on, doing good in Kitsap Live.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. I wish you guys all the best with your show. It sounds like you got quite the following. So
we're having some stupid fun doing whatever. Whatever we're doing. So.
And now I'm teaching Chris how to do it himself.
Yeah, this was a tutorial today of. Yeah, because I've done a couple of shows where some of us, I travel, she travels, and sometimes the show has to go with just one of us on it. And I had one of the best shows of my life that it went nowhere. So
good practice.
So it was a great show. Yeah.
We'll never know.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
The head of Puget Sound Energy was on the show.
Wow.
We were live. We broke out some breaking news stuff and some things were going to happen, and nobody saw it.
When I get back, you're going to tell me, "Oh yeah, I had the president on the show."
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It
won't even be there.
We're going to do all our shows live from restaurants.
Hey, that works.
And bars. So.
As long as they serve food that day.
Thanks for coming on tonight, and I'll see you in about 24 hours, man.
All right, cool. You guys have a great night.
You.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care, Vince. Take so much.
See you later.
I love him.
All right.
He's talented. He's funny. He does a ton of different things, and tomorrow night people get to see him live.
Right on. Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to miss that too.
That's how that works in our world.
I
So,
know. Life is just busy.
It is busy. But, it is extremely busy. We're here in March. We're hoping some of you out there are getting involved in all the amazing things that are going on in our county. We just had an amazing. I don't even know why we didn't even plug it, but this last weekend at the Pavilion, they had the military appreciation event, and there was thousands of people there for that. So yay for our military.
Absolutely.
Watch out for them and our first responders, and so
great stuff going on. Always great stuff going on.
Always great stuff going on. So
if you know of something great going on that we haven't talked about, let us know.
Keep us posted. I know there's going to be a big thing in Paulsbo for the Sons of Norway Hall. I know the Kitsap Humane Society's got a big fundraiser coming up, and we got to take care of our precious animals and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll try and get them on a couple of shows coming up. But keep us posted, and thanks for coming out and watching us tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Have a great day.
Yeah. Nothing but love to all of you. Do some good.